This is WCKS The Whale Radio, and my name is History Williams. This is the Ology Show. I'm here with my co-host, Miss Rosalie,
Hi, everyone.
and
I think that's just going to be my new opening phrase.
that is going to be your opening phrase. That definitely should be your opening phrase. Now, I should have on the line Miss Zenda. Can you hear me, Miss Zenda?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, Miss Zenda, tell everybody about yourself first off before we kind of delve into our topic today.
Let me see. I live in the greater Seattle area. I'm married with 2 adult children, 2 grandchildren, and I've been somewhat activist in my community in terms of politics versus specific other issues. I volunteer a lot. I'm pretty active in playing around too. I golf and ski in the winter, but I think the focus of today is primarily because I've been pretty active with democratic issues.
Okay, all
Is that
right.
enough?
Yeah, that's pretty good. So you've been proud recently. I looked at your Facebook page, and how best friends are you with Barack Obama? As I've seen all those pictures, like how close are you guys? I'm almost seeing like high five pictures with you guys.
Well, it wasn't quite high fives, but I've shaken his hand 3 times, had my picture taken with him one of those 3 times.
Okay.
I've been to 3 conferences because of my volunteer work, which is Organizing for Action, which I could digress on that. But as far as him being close friends, he probably wouldn't remember me in a crowd, or even if he threw us in the same room, he might vaguely remember the face. But no, we're not close personal friends.
No, I think he'd know you. I think he'd know you. You guys look like y'all went to the karaoke bar a few times. Some of these pictures are really, really intimate. I'm actually gonna post some of them on the page later. There's some intimate pictures.
Maybe I should send you some more.
You should definitely send some more pictures. I definitely want to post that on the. Matter of fact, you can post it on the Ology page yourself, actually.
Well, I figure that I'm a little technologically challenged, so
Okay.
that may come to pass.
Well, you say that you're married with 2 adult children, so I'm pretty sure that technology is actually there are like 89-year-old people that actually know how to work like Facebook and stuff.
Well, yes, my 100-year-old auntie is on Facebook.
Boom, there it is. So, okay, so what do you do exactly for the Democratic Party, Ms. Zenda?
Well, technically nothing. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm a precinct committee officer within the Democratic Party for my precinct within my area. So I go to weekly meetings, like there's going to be one today. I have historically done canvassing and phone banking for various candidates. So in the 2012 election, I had a hoot of a time because I was the merchandise person for the county, which was also statewide issues, what we called the combined campaign office for Barack Obama and our governor that was then running for governor. And I got to be in charge of organizing, making buttons, campaign buttons, yard signs. That was a hoot.
Gotcha.
But since then, I've been predominantly the other hat that I wore simultaneously, working for Organizing for America, which was the grassroots team to elect the president. And as of 2013, we became a 501c, whatever it is, that we are a nonprofit working for promoting the president's agenda, which we were extraordinarily busy in 2014 passing a gun legislation in our state.
Gotcha.
And so climate change, and we have the option of helping on the areas that we're passionate about, and so there's some issues that I won't work on that I disagree with the president on.
Gotcha. Oh, so you're one of the few people that that actually is happy to have a president like him and disagree with him at the same time. That's good. There's nobody that does that. Either you love or hate the president, right?
No. I have, among my friends, we have people who say, yeah, I really wish he wasn't doing, X, Y, Z, but I love the fact that he's doing A through M.
Yeah, I know that during 2012 they was passing the marijuana law. I know that was like the biggest thing that put you guys like in the political map per se. So how is that going?
Well, we did pass the law.
Yes.
It is legal to use recreational marijuana in the state.
Yes.
I mean, there's still some glitches because on the national level, marijuana is still illegal. So we're trying to work out some. I only say it euphemistically because I'm not actually involved in it. The
Gotcha.
legislature is trying to figure out ways to make it so if you have a business selling marijuana products legally, that you can open a bank account so you don't have to do a cash-only business, because banks don't want to do business with federally illegal activities.
Gotcha.
My 100-year-old auntie, to refer to her again, got a marijuana cream that she used on her sore spots, and it really helped a lot.
Rosalie, that sounds like something that you can get into.
What is that supposed to mean?
I think that you could party with that, Miss Rosalie.
Oh, gosh.
I think you should party with that. Did you get to see any of the coverage for the Paris attack at all?
Well, not from that state network, or
Yeah, I'm glad that you didn't, because it was such a terribly done job.
Well, didn't you say it was reported like 10 minutes after it happened? So
Yeah,
they wouldn't have a lot of information on that.
Yeah, they reported it like almost instantly after it happened because of the fact of social media and stuff like that. But they did such a terrible job. Even in, like, the presidential address from, like, the French president, it was all in French. So it was like, we got to work from the French president.
Really?
Yeah, it was all in French.
They spoke in French from France? What a concept.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you trying to get at, History Williams?
I'm saying that it was it is the fact that, like, you can get a translator to do those type of things. If you're gonna have that addressed, if you're gonna put out that segment properly so that people can understand what's going on.
So wait, there was like no subtitles, no translation,
nothing.
Oh, wow.
And it took them for another like 30 minutes to an hour to actually have somebody translate it. And the person that translated was really, really lazy. He was like, and he says this. And
he might have been tired, but it could have been that the good quality interpreters were with the networks that were trying to do an actual job instead of spinning.
Okay, I see. This is why I love this lady. This lady's awesome. But for a person like Bobby Jindal, who dropped out of the GOP, do you think there was
You're
a lot
talking about for the president?
For the presidency, yes. He dropped out. He's the governor of Louisiana.
Right.
And for a person who is from India, his family is Indian based. Do you think that it was a lot of conformity into that? Like, I'm going to go to the party that is going to make me win.
Right. So I could, of course, I am jaded. I believe that most of the people who are currently higher up in the Republican Party are in there for power and greed. And therefore, it would, following that train of thought, the reason a Bobby Jindal would be a Republican would because he is seeking power, greed, or notoriety, or maybe notoriety isn't the right word, but fame. I'm the first Indian American to reach fill in the blank.
Gotcha.
I can't. It's just hard for me to wrap my brain around it because it doesn't seem like he's been a very good advocate for either immigrants from his same ethnicity or home country, original country of origin, or for any other person of color.
Gotcha.
So,
well, I didn't hear about this, but did he ever explain why he stepped down?
I didn't hear anything. I really didn't read up on it, but I kind of just was following the news and just noticed that he dropped out. If I might read up a little bit later and post something about it, but it's really
well.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's money, traction, and numbers. I mean, they just weren't there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm hearing other things about Louisiana from my family. It's not the same that it used to be. And if you look at it, it's kind of like they're trying to build into this metropolis kind of place instead of just making it back the original way that it was, especially in a place like Louisiana. So how do you feel about groups like Black Lives Matter, Ms. Zenda?
I think as a general rule, I'm somewhat in favor of. In fact, if you were to historically look at my Twitter feed or my Facebook, you would see that I've been extraordinarily supportive. When I was in D.C. earlier this year, there was an action in Union Station in Washington, D.C., and I was posting pictures of it. The thing is, okay, I'm a bleeding heart liberal, diehard. I totally have bought into the context that specifically black people, but most people of color, indigenous people, have been downtrodden for centuries, and the idea just get over it is absurd because there's a life centuries of being taught that they're not good enough, they're not as good as others, and not being able to have family traditions of wealth building or even necessarily knowing who their family historically were, especially with black people who were originated from the slaves. There's a lot of crap to overcome, and we still have blatant racism and blatant segregation throughout this country, which I just noticed, oh my God, when I was in Tennessee last week. I'm a sheltered white lady in the Pacific Northwest where I have not been confronted with such blatant racism. I was speechless.
Gotcha.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So, History Williams and we were talking about this the other night. We were subbing in for a fellow DJ who was sick, but we were talking about the Black Lives Matter movement responding to the attack on Paris. How they seem very upset by the amount of coverage that it got versus the coverage that they received. So I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts on that. Do you feel like it was right for them to feel that way?
As I said today, you have the right to feel any way you want. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I think it's somewhat overblown, overstated. If they were gonna be really upset about the lack of coverage, I would say not specifically for their Black Lives Matter movement per se, mm-hmm. and I assume it's only some people within. I mean, there's Black Lives Matter groups all over the country. Mm-hmm. I would be more upset about the fact that nobody seems to give a rat's patootie about the black people that are being killed in other countries. Even Christians killing black Muslims doesn't seem to resonate with anybody. But like myself, I've been to France, I've been to Paris, so we have a little bit more empathy for them. But I think it is embedded in racism. You look at the U.S. coverage. You don't hear hardly anything unless you watch Democracy Now! Mm-hmm. Or Free Speech TV or something like that. You don't even know that thousands of black people are being massacred in other countries. So, yeah, I think they're overblowing it.
So, well, I'm gonna be honest. Like a person like me, okay. I have been clear about the fact that I am biased to the organization. Even like next week, I told Miss Rosalie that I'm gonna give my platform and also give my, I guess you would say, my monologue on why we should change the name of Black Lives Matter or actually start another movement organization. And it's going to be the one movement. And that's what it's called, literally, and also like metaphorically. It's the one movement. So what do you say to me, a person like me or a person like Miss Rosalie who may be the outliers to an organization like that? And I mean by Rosalie is the fact that if she didn't know nothing about it and she knew that, hey, I might not fit in.
Okay. So my feeling about a separate group instead of Black Lives Matter. Okay, I think the value of the Black Lives Matter is in part because it is clear and to anybody who's a thinking person that historically, if you are any person of color, you are valued less than white folks. And that's obviously a clearly, no matter where you go, what you do, whether you're Hispanic or more so in this country, Hispanic and black people, but to some degree, Asians. So in that context, I think there's value in the Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. But I think you need something that grabs it better. If you're going to be talking about, we want all people to matter, we don't want people to be denigrated for any reason, whether religion, sexual orientation, whatever. If that's the purpose, you need something that's going to be a little bit more grabby. It's going to work on a Twitter feed. It's going to work. That's the one thing the Republicans have been incredibly good at is the whether I wanted to say dog whistle, but that's not quite it. They're really good with the bumper sticker stuff that gets attention.
Gotcha.
It has to be more than the bumper sticker, but just the Black Lives Matters is catchy and short, and so it has. You might need to work on the what you call it.
I will work on the name. I will announce a name. I should have a name by next week. But I just thought like because it was just a random conversation just about the one movement.
Mm-hmm.
We should just like have something that says unification. Can't say the unification movement because like I told Rosalie, it sounds like something too close to like the United Way. But there's been other organizations. That's what I was explaining is that like that's admirable about Black Lives Matter movement is the fact that they've been consistent. And you look at other organizations like Occupy Wall Street, they completely disappeared. You heard about them for about a week or so, and they disappeared. Even like the Eric Garner movement that they had in New York as well. It was there, and then it just disappeared. As soon as his family got a few bucks from the state, it just disappeared. So that's what I was just trying to ask. Is like an organization like Black Lives Matter. I feel like because of the fact of somebody saying the name, it makes somebody feel weird and feel uncomfortable with that idea. Like, do you agree with Miss Rosalie?
Like I think I know where you're going with this, but like just a little bit of context about that conversation, how this came up was just because we were talking about the Black Lives Matter hashtag and then the All Lives Matter and why it was such a big deal. So what History Williams was saying is that like because the name specifically says black, other people of color may think that they're being excluded. So that's why he was trying to think of a name. If hypothetically, if he were to change the name, what would it be? So like all people of color would feel like they belong.
Yeah, because if you say like the colored movement, what are we in the 1950s or 40s? I feel like Ruby Bridges is about to go to the public school, or like Rosa Parks getting on the bus, or about to go get a drink of water fountain or something. I think that honestly, if you look at today times, I believe I even told you this, Ms. Zenda, like today times, I don't want my kids to be notified as that black kid. I'm already notified as that black guy, but the way that they say that now, it's almost worse than the N word back in the times when people were going through this thing, because being notified as just black is nothing empowering no more. Being notified as the N word now, it's empowering. Even I'm seeing little white kids that think they're gangster now, saying that like I'm doing this for my N words and I'm a real N word. It's empowering for them now. It's empowering for almost anybody now. But to be called African American now, it's really bad because of the fact that I'm not from Africa. You got people coming from real like Africa.
Right.
They are really like, hey, I am an African American. Or you got Asian Americans, you got Hispanic Americans. Nobody is just apparently American. And the only thing that separates us from all of these different people is just a biological makeup to adapt to the sun. So
how about? I think you may have just answered your hashtag. How about hashtag All Americans Matter?
All Americans Matter? Okay, well that sounds like a good idea. The All American movement. That's what I'm talking about. See, that's why you're great. Make it sound like it's a football run.
Because I agree with Rosalie about you don't want to alienate non-black people.
Yeah.
The context for me about the Black Lives was more in the context of like police brutality, especially, which is where a lot of this was generated from. It's not just. I mean the phrases that I heard from my visit was like, you can take the, I'm not going to say it, N-word out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the N-word. And I'm going, that's what some people live and breathe in communities, which begats the black folks not trusting or liking the white folks, and it begets more hatred, and another generation gets spawned that has those same kind of stupid ideas. If you are a thinking person, we all originated from the same source.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so you're talking about label or the term African American or Asian American, referring to, it sounds like you were saying people who are not from first generation immigrants, but like they still can, like, are you talking about like people that can still trace their root to that, or are you talking about like there should be a different label for each generation?
It shouldn't be a
Good
no.
question.
Well, I'm not saying that there
Thank
should
you.
be a late. See, y'all now you want to try to tag team on me.
We're not trying to do that.
No, it's okay. No, I don't mean that there should be a different label. What I mean is like, for example, if you're born in this country,
Okay.
you should be just American. You should just be notified as American. But if you have a person who is prime example, let's say like you came from Germany. If you not Germany, let's say
Whatever.
Oh,
I'm
here
trying to
I'll give you an example, and this is a real life example.
gotcha.
So I was born here in the U.S., but my mother was born in Vietnam, but she immigrated here when she was 15.
Yes.
So what would you call me versus what you would call my mother?
You would just be an American. Your
Okay.
mother would be a Vietnamese American.
Vietnamese American.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like to basically still take ownership of where she's from and who she is now. Even like Hispanics, they take the mom and the dad's name for their last name.
Mm.
It's like even people who put their hyphens on their married name technically. And I think that it's just to still take pride in where you're from and who you are. But at the same token, you are recognizing that this is where I am from. This is who I am. Because if we're going to put a country-based culture title to it, like like I said, African American is the only thing on like a standardized test. I only see African American. I don't even see Hispanic American. I see Latino or
Yeah.
maybe Hispanic.
Mhm.
I see Caucasian. But why do I
And
have
that's
to be? Yeah, go ahead. What you were gonna say?
It's a continent. It's not even a country. It's like, and we don't see Canadian American.
Yeah. So we recognizing that you are this culture and that you should be you are from here and that's what your name should be listed. But I know that there's not really too many ways that you can kind of list that on a standardized test.
Mhm.
But my thing is, why should it matter who, like, what color my complexion is, or why should it matter where and you question my immigration status? You know, why should it matter on a standardized test? If I did well on a standardized test, why do my color matter that I
Well,
passed the standardized test?
I might have an answer for that. It's because most of that information it's for statistical. Oh gosh, I can't say it.
Statistical.
Thank you. Purposes. Just to kind of like see like who scores better, which I think is kind of. I mean, I can kind of see like it would be kind of educational, but then at the same time it could be very restricting because let's just say a young black male who have been continuously shown to do like poorly on certain kind of tests, and like they keep seeing this, they're gonna have that kind of idea in their head that like, okay, I'm not expected to do well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like counterproductive.
But that's what it was when I came here, is the fact that I was supposed to graduate with I think a 7th grade education from high school, but that was based off of the fact of where I was from. And so there is ways that they can go around it without looking at just your ethnicity. There's different ways that you can do that. And I'm pretty sure Ms. Zenda has a beautiful idea that's going to come up to her head, how we can categorize people without having to point out just, like I said, a complexion, you know.
Like, should we get rid of that option on standardized tests in general?
Yeah, I think we should do that. If we're gonna sit there and have organizations like Black Lives Matter or Operation Occupy Wall Street, if we're gonna have groups like Anonymous that's coming around and sitting there saying that we're trying to make a movement to change things, why can't we just change that part and start with that? We start with the small stuff and then build off of it.
So like the test, for instance.
For tests or for applications,
Because I
why
see
does
there's,
it
like-
matter? You know, because even prime example, that was like one of the famous tests in Harvard, sent out 50 or like 100 applications with the same name, and the only thing different was, well, it was black sounding names, and then they checked off black for the race and ethnicity. And then they did the same thing for whites, and they put white sounding names, and they checked off Caucasian white. Well, the whites were getting more callbacks than blacks, which is true. That is okay. But it kind of goes into that same concept that I'm pretty sure Ms. Zenda agrees with me, is the fact that the Confederate flag thing is the fact that, yeah, I would like to know who is racist, who doesn't believe in these concepts. But also, I think this is part that she'll disagree with me, is the fact that I feel like that part there is actually holding us back. This part is actually giving us more of a reason why affirmative action was around, why people who were basically discriminated against automatically without even seeing these people. So I think those things right there affects us. Is the fact that we have to put a color to a person and make this imaginative body look of this person before they even see this person.
All right, let's hear from our guest.
Well, we have a history of conversation, so he's right on some of that.
Okay.
What you're talking about by getting rid of the designation, which in a altruistic state would be good, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it, but that would mean all the way across the board there would be it means testing for getting into school would have to be only on like socioeconomic issues, like if you need help for college. Of course, I think it should be free college anyway, but that's another story. So there would be no preferential by anything. That means, sure, that's great to say the best person gets in, the most intelligent, whatever, but it still begs the question of those things like he was just saying about, if you have an African-sounding name. We had our history alone in our own personal relationship. He assumed that I was African-American because of my name.
Yeah, I think when I first met you, I was expecting a black lady to walk in the room. So,
oh my!
Like, what the
and then I just see this string being like a Caucasian lady just walks into this room, and I'm, oh my gosh, this
string bean.
You are pretty thin. You are really, really thin. She's thinner than you, Rosalie. She's pretty thin, but she's physically fit. I give that to you. You're physically fit. She's proactive. But
so how do you overcome the preconceptions of prejudice when without any assistance? Okay, so if there are government programs for like affirmative action, et cetera, which are being wiped out anyway, but how do you deal with, because there's still going to be people that are going to be held back, not allowed, or they don't get the better schools. There's so many different areas where because of your ethnicity, color, or whatever, you don't have the opportunities that somebody like me might have.
I think that's a question that we should ask for tomorrow, right? We should really just bring that up.
I know, the show is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome.
I'm gonna try to get her to come back on our 2-hour block later. Is that okay, Ms. Zenda? Just for a few minutes.
I can't guarantee tomorrow, but maybe another time.
Maybe another time. I think that she's been an like an ultra cool guest.
Oh gosh, because if we had more time, I would have like probably like narrowed down the scope a little bit. Not so much on like tests, but like scholarships, for instance. Like don't get me wrong, I appreciate the scholarships that reach out to different ethnicity groups. I mean, I've even applied to some of them because like I needed the financial aid, but a friend of mine who comes from a mainly white background, she's like, did you notice that there's not a lot of scholarships for white people? And then you kind of got me thinking, it's like, well, because most of the time we assume that if you're white, you're not really in like financial need, but there are people who are in those situations. So that was a reality check for me for sure. And I wish we were able to talk about it.
You know what, Ms. Zenda, next week, what are you doing next week, Wednesday?
I can't answer that right now, but I will be in contact with you and tell you yes, no, maybe so.
Because I want to extend this section.
You've been such a joy. Like, we needed this.
Well, you and your one or two listeners,
Oh, wow, that hurts me. I would like to think that we are a lot more popular than that.
Because I joined the show.
Good.
Yes.
Bam.
Well, that's Rosalie. I'm sure that's true because women are so much smarter than men.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm kidding. It's true. Please don't be mad. We're just playing. We're just playing.
It's all right. My wife believes the same thing. It's okay.
Well, his wife is brilliant.
Oh, I had her in one of my classes. Yeah, she is, and she's been on the show a couple of times. So.
Yes. But
well, I won't. I'm going to stop getting myself in deeper. I don't want to alienate him completely.
Yeah, you definitely are doing that. I don't think I'm gonna call you on your weekly phone calls no more now. Oh. I'm just joking. You're listening live to WCKS The Whale Radio. This is the Ology Show. We'll see you back tomorrow. My name is History Williams with Ms. Rosalie. And say goodbye, Ms. Zenda.
Goodbye. Thanks. It was fun.
It was definitely